Have you ever wanted to know what it takes to beat every single rank in Overwatch? Well, today I'm going to go rank by rank and explain what it takes to be in this rank, how to get out of it, and what's usually holding you back. I am someone who has climbed from bronze in Overwatch 1 to then be in gold at the start of Overwatch 2, and I am now GM3, granted on a different role, but still, I feel I have decent insight to what each rank requires and takes. So, first off with bronze, the most common thing here is going to be terrible hardware. You're going to be on like a 30 FPS or lower, 500 bajillion milliseconds of input lag. You may be playing on way too high of a sensitivity or way too low of a sensitivity. And if it's not one of those things, maybe it's you've never played a game. Maybe it's your first game, or maybe you've never played a game where you have to aim. Maybe you're used to playing something like Stardew Valley or something like that, where it's not really a competitive game and you haven't had to think too much about your mechanics. I think it is very hard to get stuck in bronze so long as you have good or decent enough hardware and peripherals and you are playing consistently. I was able to hit silver back in near the end of Overwatch 1 playing on like 30 FPS, and I got masters for the first time playing Tracer on 60 FPS. So you can do it. You just need to get it to a stable enough place and get a decent enough sensitivity and play a little bit, right? So to get out, get a reasonable sensitivity, a decent enough PC, and just play the game a consistent amount. And that's it. Okay, for silver, the previous points could all still apply. You could still have terrible hardware and a bad sensitivity, but you played enough to make it work and rank up, right? I begin to think that silver is like the real low rank. Like bronze is sort of like, oh, you just barely play the game, or your PC is really bad, you're not prepared, like loads of things. But silver is really you're playing comp, and this is the lowest rank. A common problem is flexing between too many heroes. You don't want to be doing this. You want to just be picking one or two heroes and just playing that, and even playing one a role. Some people are like queuing all three roles and not really making any progress on those roles. And also, kind of on top of that is the permanently counter swapping, because obviously they want to win, and they've heard counter swapping is what happens. You counter swap the tank, but what ends up happening is that you never actually get comfortable on a hero, and also the counter doesn't work if you don't know how to play it. A big low rank problem as well sometimes is holding on your ultimate for way too long. You need to be using these ults. They're really high impact. You can get them back fairly quickly. Just make sure you are using them. You do not need to get 5-man kills. You do not need to get the maximum value. They just need to be used at a decently regular amount, and you will win far more fights. And you also need to kind of maybe start thinking about trying to group up a little more. You don't want to be staggered out. Like genuinely take a look and see, hey, am I going into a fight like 2v5? And if so, maybe just hang back and wait for your team to catch up. And unironically, in silver, I think the top 10 tips and tricks videos will actually help you out in silver. I think you could actually use those and apply those and get out. So my tips to get out of silver: so long as you play a decent amount and you stick to a hero or two, I firmly believe you'll be able to climb. I believe you. You'll be able to do it. You just need to play a semi-regular amount and stick to two heroes, or preferably even one hero, right? Just get comfortable with the game a little bit. Okay, gold. The first like real sort of rank, you're kind of you're in the middle. It's a lot of people who are, maybe more casual players are happy just being gold. I call it the party gamer rank. And now that's not to put down anyone who is an Overwatch, grinder in your gold. That's not anything like that. But I'm saying that this is a rank where you find the people that just hop between games every week, depending on which one their friends are playing, whichever one got an update recently. You're going to see a lot of on and off players here. So if you're trying to, if you're honestly in gold, that's not a problem. I'm just saying it's a very common thing you're going to find in this rank are those type of people just hopping between games, not really committing that hard to one. And typically your PC setup and stuff is probably all going to be at least normal at this point. So we can cross that off the list, hopefully. Still too much counter swapping. I mean, these are the people that you will see in those TikToks that are like talking about how like, you just have to go, Orisa into this, you just have to go Zarya into this, or the Zarya kind of the diva. They put up the counter swap chart, like things like that. And it's like, you don't need to be doing all of that. And gold is kind of where you start getting a little more comfortable in a hero, like genuinely you do. But you just need to get a little more comfortable. So yeah, you need to start becoming you start almost finding a bit of an identity with, okay, I like this character, you know. For me, it was like, I really like Ashe and I like Sombra, and I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to play. That's what I ended up doing. When I was gold, I played a very stupid amount of Ashe, because I could basically blunt force my way through Plat and Diamond just through grinding like Ashe specifically and her mechanics. It's not the perfect way to do it because you might not learn a lot of Overwatch concepts, but you can really easily climb up this rank by just getting really comfortable on a hero and just getting good at your matchups, getting good at piloting the character. So get out, find a couple of your favorite heroes and play them a lot. We do not need to worry about the larger Overwatch macro too much. That's another thing. Do not over-focus on 5 million different concepts. You do not need to know all this other stuff. It's just going to drag you down. We need to be comfortable on our heroes and we need to be comfortable playing the game. We need you shooting, moving, and all that jazz. And then we can start worrying about a lot of other concepts and applying them. Plat is the most populated rank. I mean, we haven't had stats in a while, but it was largely the most popular, so I doubt it's shifted that much. If you play Overwatch as your main game, you'll very likely end up here. Just over time. I think if you play enough Overwatch, it becomes your main game, and you're putting in a good amount of hours, and you're playing a select few characters. I think without even trying, as long as you're playing and showing up, you will eventually get here to Plat. Typically will have a grasp of how your select heroes work. You'll understand how they function. Even a Plat Tracer understands, they're not maybe perfect at doing it, but they understand how Tracer Blink works and how it interacts and what range they should be playing at and, you know, what fights they can and can't take. They're not perfect at doing it yet, but they understand and they're grasping that knowledge, whereas Gold and Silver very much are not able to pilot those characters nearly as well. You're grouping up way more. I think genuinely in this day and age, at this point, 2026, Plat players are grouping up. Like, I think it used to be you had to get all the way up to Masters before people started doing that, but I think now Plat players are grouping up, and you're using your ults a little more responsibly than players below you. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot better. Everything in Plat, I'd say, is pretty solid. Like, you're not terrible, okay? Like, you're not terrible. Now, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but, like, you're able to pilot your character. You have to understand that, hey, we need to be grouped. Hey, odds do this. You're not perfect at executing all those things, but you do understand. Typically, the thing here now is your actual fundamentals of Overwatch are just lacking a bit, and we now need to start learning about angles. Look, I had to drop the word. We have to learn about angles. We have to learn that we can't just put 5 people in one main lane, right? We have to actually split up and take some space a bit. To get out, you have to be a bit better than the average, because this is the average rank. Thus, you have to learn to actually play the game of Overwatch using your hero pool. So taking space, taking angles, pushing and pulling, all of that stuff. I think a singular Spilo guide that you then apply to your gameplay could probably boost you out of Plat. Diamond. Ignore whatever some Masters bum says to you. If you are Diamond, well done. It's not incredible, but you are better than most players at the game. You pick an average player, you're probably even better than them. You probably are. And that's pretty good. But don't let that, you know, boost your ego too much or anything. I'm trying to be healthily giving you some confidence. Diamond, you're probably quite confident on your respected heroes. I mean, when I got to Diamond playing Sombra and Ashe, I felt really good on these characters. Yeah, my larger game understanding wasn't there, but I felt really comfortable maneuvering, shooting, and piloting my character. You're starting to grasp how Overwatch is meant to be played. And most of the time you are doing that, you're at least trying to take that space. You're at least experimenting with the off angle. It's not the best one. It's not perfectly timed, but you're trying, and that's better than what most players are actually doing. You can also probably actually operate a mouse and keyboard and aim. That can really get you to Diamond very quick. I don't know what it is. A lot of Overwatch players struggle with aim. I've seen this a lot when you look at like the lower ranked VODs. Aim just seems to be something that takes a while for them to pick up on. So if you can just aim and you play hit scan like Loki, you can probably just get the Diamond. I'm not even gonna lie. There are also a lot of annoying people in this rank, so you have to be a little prepared for that. And I was in Diamond the longest out of any rank by far, so I would know. So how did I get out if I was there for so long? Well, I had to, you know, zero in on the fundamentals, the characters that I play, the fundamentals of Overwatch, really. So cover usage, off angles, timing, ult economy, reacting to pressure, effective range, and resource management. Those are the main sort of things, right? It sounds overwhelming to list them all off like that, but you probably already, without knowing, do some of these things at least decently if you're in Diamond. So you just need to look at those things and just start getting better at them, right? You need to go into a game, a few games, and just focus in on being better at cover usage. Next one, focus on your timing a little better, and so on. Get out. Maybe, you know, if you want to get out quicker, so you can start looking at your VODs. Now, people give mixed opinions. People say you need to look at your VODs always. Some people give, don't look at your VODs if you're diamond. You don't know what to look for because you're not good enough yet. And I think there's a healthy middle ground. If you look at your VODs and you go with the lens, I want to look, was I utilizing cover? And you just watch and you look at your cover usage, you can tell if your cover usage was bad. You will look at yourself and you'll go, oh, I'm not on cover. Oh, I'm on cover. And that's all you need to know, right? And so start doing that. You know, you can start watching some coaching videos, understand how your hero really needs to be played. The alternative is just being a mechanical demon, but I would not rely on that. That is not a healthy way to climb, okay? And it actually takes longer to just become mechanically good. Mechanics take a longer time to hone in on than the Overwatch fundamentals. But yeah, you've got this. Masters, you are now playing Overwatch. I mean, like, this is so cringe, but this is quote unquote real Overwatch. Like, this is, the game is being played, okay? You're going to go to a side lane and there's going to be someone contesting you most of the time. No one's really getting staggered unless it's done on purpose. You know, you're actually seeing ults be traded and layered a little bit here. Things are starting to happen. The game is quicker. And you probably as a player feel like you actually understand things. You know, the game actually feels comfortable. Like playing Masters, you actually feel quite strong. You actually feel quite like, yeah, I can play the game. You're not worrying about too much. Because that's the thing, if you are Masters and you decide, okay, I'm done, I'm just going to play here. Masters, you basically have almost all your skill points up to a good level. And then the boost into Grandmaster is just going to be specialization. But like Masters, you're pretty solid. And so you're just going to play around and you can kind of just have fun in this rank. You know, it feels like you're understanding. It feels like you've learned and you feel like you're playing the game of Overwatch. But be warned, you are possibly at the absolute peak of the Dunning-Kruger effect if you are at this rank. I, no joke, almost had a breakdown when I realized how much I didn't know like a season or two ago when I was learning Lucio at Masters, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it's simple, I'll just do this. And then I started to figure out, okay, wait, but I actually have to worry about this thing and this thing. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm the worst player ever. But you can do it. You can break through. I hit the Valley of Despair and now I'm a little bit more up the back. Or maybe this is the peak. Who knows? But yeah, just be careful. Shit gets serious here. I only recently escaped the purgatory, and even then I can still slip back down. So yeah, I said specialization. You have to start specializing, in my opinion. Good fundamentals all have to be there to be Masters, whilst learning the micro of your hero, and that's what's going to push you. Just being really consistent at really smaller details. Like, unironically, like in Masters, if you're a Masters Tracer player, if you are missing blink melees, that's going to start mattering here. If you were in Diamond and Plat and you came to me saying, oh, I'm just struggling with my blink melees, I'd be like, boy, you got priorities. Blink melees don't matter, okay? But in Masters, maybe now it matters a little bit. You have to play a lot more as well. Like, that's just something that, I mean, shouldn't even be said. You have to play a lot more the more higher you go, and you have to keep a lot more consistent, play a good amount of games, and constantly be working on different aspects of your gameplay. So how do you get out? Play more and consistently. Seriously, I mean, I was trapped until I started putting hours in, a lot more hours in, and then I was able to escape myself, right? And just focus in on those little details that you need to improve on. I was like, you know, I'm looking at Brig and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm whipped on too early. Let's slow it down a little bit. That's a small thing to like pick up on, right? And realistically, to rank up into GM, you can't just occasionally have strong fundamentals. Every game you have to play with your fundamentals correct. Like, it just is. That's how you're going to get GM and keep it. Speaking of Grandmasters, hey, I mean, it's a pretty damn good rank. I mean, I'm patting myself on the back here, but it's a pretty damn good rank. Okay, for a lot of players, probably including myself, we aren't getting much higher. The skill gap here widens a ton. A GM1 player will make a GM5 player gold. Like, if you are here, you're largely just playing Overwatch well. Like, straight up, everything you do is pretty good. There's obviously errors and you're obviously making mistakes and you have loads to work on, but for the most part, you're pretty good. What's going to separate you is the consistency of executing these concepts throughout an entire game. Best players, these champ players, are doing the things that you're thinking about without thinking. Micro is going to matter a lot now. You can't just be a good tracer. You need to start putting out these little small things that make you a better tracer than the other GM in your game. This goes without saying, but this rank range here is like the GM to champ range is highly competitive. Like, it sounds stupid, but you're such a smaller size of players that you are actually actively competing with each other to keep the rank. In below that, like Masters, Diamond, whatever, there's enough people in this rank where it doesn't feel like you're knocking someone else out. You're just joining them. Grandmaster and Champ, you are actively almost shifted a player out of GM by getting better. So it is a much more competitive role, which is why you have to play more consistently and you have to be performing just better than the person in your game to game. And to get out, I mean, if I knew, you know, you have to play a lot, quite a lot. I mean, you have to play the amount like a Champ player would have to play. And my God, you just have to find anything to be better at. I know that's a cop out, but you just have to find anything that you can get better at. But this rank is already insanely high, so don't worry. Again, Champ is pretty crazy. All right, don't worry, Champ. These are your best players, and even then, a Champ 1 would still destroy a Champ 5. There's just an even bigger skill gap. These players are just really, really good at what they do. I mean, it's just obvious. They're just extremely good at what they do, and it's why you might find that some of these players get more strategic. You know, they come more. They're thinking more outside the box because you need a lot more factors to win a game. If I'm, you know, teaching a guy in Diamond, I can just sort of tell them to start taking the angle and go in and engage with their team, and that's fine. But in Champ, everyone's doing that by default at just a simple level. So you need to start figuring out a little more specifics. That's why you might hear high-level streamers talk more about team composition, and they might complain more about support backlines and what tanks on what map. And it's not because these players are annoying, even though some of them are. It's much more because those factors are actually going to start to matter, and it's why you lost. Like, you will lose the game on Gibraltar if your tank picks Ryan. But in Diamond, or even Masters, even GM, if your tank picks Ryan on Gibraltar, it might suck, but you could still win the game. But Champ, it's very difficult. If you are Champ, you have basically beat the game, so don't even worry about it. The next thing is just to be pro. Like, that's it. Hope this was informative. I need to drink water. My mouth is so dry now. I hope it was informative. Good luck on your grind. I believe you can make it to whatever rank you want, as long as you try really hard. As long as you try and you apply yourself, you will be able to climb. You just would be doing more than the enemies are doing. And that's it. Enjoy.